What is up, everybody? Welcome to a little early crunch time. And boy, yes, got the yawning Grant, not happy to be up this early. Blender, yeah, there you go.
This is late for me, Roth. I'm an hour late. Normally, this I get to sleep in today.
That's so odd. Grant was saying he would rather generally be up all night playing video games and not waking up early to do this. But here we are, me and two of the zaniest, is that a good wackiest, zaniest guys in the industry. Hey, how are you?
You want to start? I don't know who to start.
I don't know. I typically Roth. We never do shows together. We're never on crunch time. I do the weekends a lot of times, crunch time, and then you do the flagship crunch times during the week. So maybe for old time's sakes, since you don't follow baseball as much as basketball, maybe I'll throw out some fake baseball names. And
oh, okay. Towards the end of the show,
remember the last time we were crunch time, I'm just like, oh, does anyone care about the weather in this game? It's like, well, if Charlie Struthers is pitching, everyone cares about the weather. And you're like, okay. And I'm like, well, there's no Charlie Struthers.
And so we got you.
Maybe I'll throw some curveballs in for you.
Great. No, I'm really looking forward to having to be on my toes the entire 30 minutes for fake names. We also have Grant. What's up, Grant? How are you, man?
Not too bad. This is early for me because I'm currently down in Southern California right now. So, yeah, it was not nice waking up at 7 a.m.
Brutal. That's just unfathomable. Grant, you get around, man. You do some travels. I feel like you're always somewhere new and cool.
Yeah, no, I'm on a 2-week-long road trip that I'm still working during, but heading from Palm Springs to San Diego tomorrow, then Santa Monica, then the city of lost wages, as I like to call it.
Well, hey, it's excellent to have you both and to talk some baseball. This is a free crunch time, so if you're watching on the old YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. You can also fire in your questions on the YouTube chat, or you can do it in the Discord if you are a RotoGrinders Premium member, and we will be getting to those questions shortly. But first, let's talk some weather. That's why I'm here. It's to be the handsome host and to tell you guys that nothing's happening in the weather, at least not as far as rain. We like Wrigley, right? Grant, you said you could do my job today, play bats in Wrigley. You want to take it from there?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Wrigley's got the wind blowing.
We got a weird Cubs. Just want to break in. We got a very weird Cubs starting lineup.
Okay. Oh, did it just come out?
Yeah, it just came out. Peterson, Rizzo, Baez, Happ, Bodie, Horner, no Contreras, Martini in right field, and Higgins as catcher. And let me just tell you, like I play the Cubs often. Who the hell's Martini and Higgins? Sounds like something I order from the bar. I'm not making up these names. See,
that's what I felt like fake names.
That some guy named Martini and Higgins, and it's like, no, that actually these aren't fake people. That they're real people.
So, what's your immediate feedback? Are there all of a sudden, okay, these guys are great deals, and you're interested, or all of a sudden this lineup sucks, and I want to play the opposing pitcher? Or, hey, I was going to stack this game, but now I can't. Blender, what are your thoughts on that line?
Well, I mean, Joe Ross sucks, so I don't care who's in the Cubs lineup. The Cubs have a 5.5 implied run total in a Wrigley, wind blowing out game. Like, it doesn't matter to me. All it does is mean that, I have Wilson Contreras in my lineups, and he's no longer in. He's a $5,200 catcher. So now we're not even spending up a catcher today. So right. Rizzo's in the lineup, and we weren't expecting that. Since yesterday, so it's more the type of thing where now you're jamming in Rizzo and you're getting Contreras out, and I guess you're playing this Higgins guy. Seriously, I've never even heard. Is the Cubs trying to come up with fake names just to screw around with me? But I'm assuming this guy is cheap.
Grant?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to cash. It's still fairly easy. It's a weird slate where you have far too much money to spend. Like, I mean, just by not playing Molly, you're kind of getting different. I was originally not planning on doing a 5-3 stack, and now I may have to rethink things just because with Rizzo in there, it makes it a little bit more palatable. But I mean, it's still like I'm playing Cubs in Washington. I don't care about the ownership. I'm just trying to get a little bit different. Was Baez in the lineup? There we go. Now, yeah. So like playing Baez instead of what's his name, Turner. Like, I think it's the way to go. I was hoping that Contreras would be in the lineup because I was planning on going all in on Avila. just because people are going to have the money to pay up for Contreras. But this is definitely turned into a little bit more interesting slate after that came up.
Yeah, they're both minimum price on DraftKings, Martini and Higgins. I don't know if you're playing Martini. Nick Martini. I believe it's Nick Martini, right? He used to be on the A's. Yeah, he used to be on the A's. He's a pretty bad hitter.
He's not good. And I'm trying to target guys in that game that can actually hit a bomb because I have all the salary I need. So I'm strictly targeting guys that are going to hit a home run specifically in that game. So Martini being 2K, like you don't really need that salary. I don't really have much interest in playing him.
Okay, well, let's kind of reset here. We'll get into the hitters in a little bit, but I want to start talking about some of these pitchers, and then we'll go through and talk the hitters. Also, real quick, I'll note it's also good hitting in Baltimore. It's 85 degrees. Winds aren't doing anything special, but just wanted to add, yes, by far the best hitting weather is in Chicago. But, we look at Oakland. Sorry, Oakland's not even on this slate, huh? Yeah, Baltimore's a pretty good hitting spot. But with that said, let's talk about these pitchers. And Grant, I'll let you go first with what you're looking at.
I mean, I think Mahle is going to be the de facto number one pitcher on the slate. He's a guy that's got some pretty decent stuff. Matchup versus the Giants isn't terrible, especially the lineup they ended up rolling out with a few just trash bats in there. I think that everyone's going to end up going to Mahle, but I'm kind of just planning on fading him entirely. The ownership probably isn't worth it. His price tag makes it so people are still fine with playing him, especially with these cheapies that end up coming out. So I plan on going all in on Dunning. Dunning's cheaper, which people don't want to fully trust him going up against New York. His numbers have been pretty decent so far this season. He's a solid overall pitcher, and you worry about his pitch count a little bit, but on a 4-game slate, it doesn't matter how late he's going to go into the game, and doesn't really matter the matchup too much. He's going to end up probably getting it done, or just as likely to get it done as everyone else. And then after that, it's Domingo Herrán, like going up against Texas, solid overall matchup. Like I'm just starting pitchers from both those games. Like you can go with Rich Hill, that's fine. He's going to come in at a decent amount of ownership. Like he's a decent swap off of Herrán. You can go with pretty much anyone on this slate. Like if you want to, taking a shot on Cueto as a pivot, it's not a great matchup versus Cincinnati. It's not a great ballpark, but it's a decent ballpark for strikeouts. If he doesn't end up giving a bomb, he can potentially do some damage, even though he's been bad over his first two. Start off the season really well. So I just I don't want to take a 50% owned Mahle for going up against San Francisco, who's still like a decent overall hitting team on a 4-game slate.
Mm-hmm. Now, Grant, you're talking tournaments. If you're playing cash, are you doing that? Or are you saying, all right,
Mahle and Herrmann. Is it Herrmann or German? I can't remember which one was which.
Is German Herrmann. All right. Blender, what are you thinking as far as tournament pivots here?
Okay, well, I mean, on this slate, based on the bat projections, like none of these pitchers project to put up a ton of points. Like, Mahle and Herrmann are the top of a very mediocre heap. Like, the likelihood of a pitcher putting up 30+ points this slate is low, which means the pitching points are going to be fairly limited in general. So you're not going to be, I'm using words like probably, do you need to play as 50% owned Mahle or 60% owned Herrmann? I'm more likely to play Mahle over Herrmann because Herrmann doesn't go 100 pitches. I mean, like just the pure ceiling there. Yeah, great matchup against the Rangers, who strike out a lot. But Herrmann also has walk issues, and he could get into the 5th inning, especially on like a site like Fanduel, where you want the quality start to get those 4 points. Like I'm much more likely to play Mahle, but I don't think Mahle's. On DraftKings, I'm playing some giant stacks against him because he's going to be so owned, and I just don't think it's quite possible no pitcher on the slate gets more than 20 points. So when that comes down to it, maybe you're not playing Joe Ross or Trevor Williams in Wrigley, but Rich Hill, like you go, Rich Hill against the Orioles, it's like if he gives you 18 points, that may be fine, right? Dane Dunning, like Grant mentioned, Judge isn't in the lineup. We have Odor batting cleanup, who's a strikeout machine. Of course, revenge game, right? He's down in Texas now. It's a revenge game. Got to mention that. Judge. I mean, this Yankees lineup is not as great. They only have a 4.1 1.15 implied run total. I think people are scared to play pitchers against the Yankees.
Mhm.
Dane Dunning's a younger kid, a little bit higher variance, but at 6,500, if you're going to pay up for expensive stacks, you're going to pay up for like the Cubs or something. Well, the Cubs aren't even that expensive anymore with Contreras not in the lineup. But if you're going to pay up anywhere, I have no problem. My cash combination, I'm actually playing Dunning in cash with Molly, but like Cueto, I mean, he could have 10 points and get there against Cincinnati. I just think on this Dean Kramer, I guess he could get there. I just don't think pitching is that. I think you're avoiding landmines more than trying to find a pitcher so you get 40 points combined at pitchers. So on a 4-game slate, you're playing pitchers that are just not going against the hitters in your lineup.
Okay, easy enough. Let's talk about some of the hitters. We'll start at catcher because it was Contreras that everyone wanted, right? And now we got to pivot off that. So, Jordan, where are you looking as far as catchers go?
We're probably playing down. I mean, I'm waiting for the bat projections to update on this PJ Higgins at 2K. I'm just not sure if you're going to need Higgins. I think paying up a little bit for Avila on the national side. I mean, the growing theme in cash games today, or the chalk in GPPs, is going to be the Wrigley game. I mean, it's going to be the Wrigley game and maybe some Tampa Bay. Like that is going to be the chalk construction. So anything away from that, you're getting contrarian. But at catcher, I just refreshed. Yeah, we still don't have Contreras out of the lineup. Avila is going to get that. I mean, I'm running this through. It's like I don't even think you need to play PJ Higgins at all. Like you'll just play Avila at 3,300. He's on the road, guaranteed 9th inning at bats, batting 6th against Trevor Williams, who is not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Struggles against lefties primarily, and the wind's blowing out, and Avila can hit the ball in the air. So, like that 1,300 that you'll save from Avila to Higgins.
Not worth it.
I don't know where you're. I look at my lineup and I go, I don't know where I'm spending. Like that's what you do if you want to get from like Dunning to Herman, or you want to get, instead of playing Odor, who's 2,800, in batting cleanup in like cash games. Like you want to pay up and get like get Brandon Lowe at expensive second baseman for the Rays. But other than that, I think you're going. I don't think you're playing Gary Sanchez today at 4,700 on DraftKings.
Okay. Well, Grant, let's talk about some of these tournament takes here. Maybe, do you want to pay up for now if people are going to be paying down with Contreras out of the lineup at catcher?
I mean, I'm just full on fading. What's his name? For Chicago, Higgins.
Yeah.
Like he's not great. Like again, trying to get power. I still think people are going to play him. Avila is a clear top option, but in tournaments, you're kind of just better off rounding out for your stack. I mean, Severino's in a pretty good weather game, pretty good spot over in Baltimore going up against Hill. Obviously not the greatest matchup in the world, but it's 4-game slate. Matchups really don't matter too much. Sanchez going up against Dunning. Dunning is not going to be the overall chalk, especially with Higgins being in there. I think people are just going to pay up for the two top arms on the slate with German and Male. So in tournaments, it's not that hard to get a little bit different, and you either round out your stack or you play Severino, Avila, or Sanchez.
Okay. Let's talk about first base. Grant, you can start.
All right, first base, I mean, it's Rizzo and Spell. Like, those are the top two overall options. Bell is cheaper. Rizzo, if you have the price tag. Guys that can hit bombs, good matchup going up against some bad pitchers, wind blowing out. They are by far the top overall options, and it's not really that close. Outside of that, like if you're trying to pivot a little bit, also there's Choi that's 3,400, far too cheap. If you're trying to pivot, like Mancini is the guy to go with. Mancini is 5.1K. Everyone's going to be on Rizzo instead of Mancini. Mancini's going up against Hill, not an easy matchup, but he's an absolutely just talented guy. And it's good weather. It's a good ballpark. Everything good. Like he's the guy that you pivot off of in tournaments. And then if you want to pay down, like get some leverage off the chalk. Ruff stands out as one of the best point per dollar plays on the entire slate at first base. And no one's going to own him because everyone's playing Molly. So they're not going to play the guy against it. So my two top options for tournaments are Ruff and Mancini.
Okay, great. Jordan, first base. Any thoughts that are very wildly different there?
No, I mean, the chalk is going to be Josh Bell on DraftKings. FanDuel, I mean, Bell is priced up on FanDuel, but he's still the highest raw points play. I mean, because you don't have to spend anywhere. So like, you could pay 3,500 for Josh Bell. I'd rather play him than G-Man Choi for 3,300. Even I mean, Josh Bell just has more upside. So like that. I mean, pretty much on DraftKings, you're playing Bell at 3,500 in Wrigley. Like that's the cash play.
Right. Tournaments, anything different that, Grant didn't mention?
No.
Okay. Well, then take us to second base.
Okay. Second base sucks for the most part. On DraftKings, you're either going up to Brandon Lowe or you're going down to Rougned Odor, batting cleanup. I mean, Jordy Mercer's cheap down there, 2,500 for the Nats, but he's not that great of a hit. I mean, like, Jordy Mercer probably is a better hitter than Rougned Odor. It's just that Mercer will not hit the ball out of the ballpark most of the times, while Odor can up against Dunning. So that's on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, Starlin Castro is second base eligible, and Happ is second base eligible. You're more likely to play, like, you could still play Low at 3,100. Odor is 2,300. Happ is 2,800, and Castro is 2,500. And also we have cheap Gleyber Torres is 2,800. Yet from a raw points perspective, Happ at least in the bat, Happ stands out over Castro and even Brandon Lowe. But whoever fit out of that range, it's a $2,300 to $3,100 range. If you were to play any of those four players, whichever one fits in the rest of your lineup for cash games, I just go with it. I'm not opposed to any of them.
Okay, Grant, second base. Any thoughts on Rugi, Lowe, or anyone else?
I mean, Lowe's going to be the highest owned guy because everyone can easily.
Up, right, exactly.
Huh?
Everyone can pay up. You're probably playing Low anyway.
Yeah, no, and someone mentioned in chat leaving I think he said like 8K on the board, 8,100 leftover salary, sound good, Blender. This is a slate where you leave money left over because everyone, like, it's something in your brain where you want to use all your salary.
Sure.
Everyone does it. So if you want, create a lineup and then just swap out of Molly and German over to Cueto and Dunning or Cueto and Rich Hill. Like, Dunning grades out as a better raw points play according to the bat. I know you love that, Blender, than German does. But people are just going to be like, I have money left over, I'm going to play him. Mm-hmm. Just don't do it. Literally just leave money on the board. There's no need to use all your money because everyone, especially at second base, so this goes to second base, everyone's going to have money to spend up, so everyone's going to play loud. Don't play loud. Play Solak. Like, it's that simple. Play Solak.
Don't leave 8,100 on the table. I mean, I could see leaving money on the table, but not that much.
I know. I mean, one of my lineups, I think the worst one leaves 4,400 on the table. Like, but I fully X'd out Molly from my player pool, and German I only have in one lineup. So I'm going 100% Dunning, and it's just that simple. He's not going to come in high enough owned because of the amount of salary you have. So at second base, the only way to pivot is play literally anyone but LeMahieu or Lau because everyone's going to play him because they have money left over.
Okay, let's go to third base, and Grant, you can start us off.
All right, third base, everyone's going to go Schwarber. Not a great matchup versus Cueto, but not a bad one. Solid hitting guy, playing over in the Great American Ballpark. They're going to play him or they're going to play Castro because Castro is playing in Washington. It's just those two guys. Or anyone else you can pivot in tournaments and be better off, but there's really not a lot of great options. I prefer Longoria going up against Molly. Again, you get a little bit of leverage there. Longoria, not a bad little bat. He's the guy that I want to use and probably going to have the largest amount of exposure to. It's just that simple. Like, he's the top overall leverage play. He's the top overall ownership to projected points play. Just fade Suarez and Castro, though, and you are entirely different.
Who is the third baseman in the wind game there?
It's Castro.
Oh, okay.
And he's cheap.
As well as Bodie. Well, Bodie's batting fifth for the Cubs, but he's 4,300. That's a little overpriced for him.
But we don't care if he's overpriced. That seems like
we don't care, right? We're spending, right? We have unlimited money.
Right.
We're going on a shopping spree, Roth. We'll pay for everyone.
So who do you want at third, Blender?
Well, I would avoid Suarez like the plague at 5,500 because people, if they spend the money there on this is DraftKings or LeMahieu. I'm more likely to go cheap at third base for tournaments and then pay up in the outfield. Because I mean, most likely there's going to be most lineups are going to contain some $3,500 to $4,200 hitter, and maybe paying up like a couple of times at outfield may be different. But I think third base is going to be more of a one-off position for most lineups on DraftKings. So I'm saying play the third baseman of whoever you're stacking. So like if you're stacking the Giants, play Longoria, Cubs, Bodie, Franco, Mercer, Wendell. You can play Wendell because most people won't play Wendell in their stack for the Rays because I'd rather play Meadows or Rosarina, Choi, Lowe. They'll get something like that. So you play Wendell there. Or you play, you stack Cincinnati, but instead of playing Suarez, you play Alex Blandino, who sucks, but I mean, whatever. He's batting 8th, and he'll be different. It's a 4-game slate, or Kyle Farmer, or something like that. I just think most people, third base is going to be a one-off. They're going to have their 4 or 5-man stack, and third base is going to be like, okay, I guess I'm playing overpriced Eugenio Suarez against Cueto, and because he can, because why not? He's the best raw points play at that position. So why wouldn't you? So don't,
because you want to be different. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, great. Why don't you take us to shortstop, Blender?
Okay, shortstop is a pay up position. Because why don't just put me on repeat, right? Most of these positions are pay up positions. It's gonna be, I mean, what's the story? The wind's blowing out at Wrigley, it's the highest total game. Trey Turner, 5,800. Javi Baez, 5,300. Oh. Baez is cheaper on FanDuel by a lot compared to, let me pull this up. Yeah, Baez is 3,300. Turner is 4,400. So I would say from a point per dollar perspective on FanDuel, you're playing Baez. But you know what the problem on FanDuel is? You could pay up for everyone. So you're probably playing Turner anyway. So, but it's most likely one of those 2 players, and pretty much anyone else is going to be contrarian.
Okay, Grant, I'll move over to you here. First off, in cash games, do you prefer Baez or Turner? And second, in tournaments, is there a reason to pivot off them? And is there a guy you like, or you just pick one because they're the best?
Yeah, in cash, you probably play Turner over Baez, but again, even though we have unlimited cash, they're not that much different. Like Turner is the preferred one, but Baez is 500 cheaper. After that, like, I don't know, it's not great. Horner is in play. He's not a great play, but he's in play. Like, it's kind of just trash. You kind of round out your stack if you're not paying up for Turner, Baez, or Suarez if you're playing him over at short.
So do you have tournament lines? Yeah. Do you have tournament lines where you're not playing Baez or Turner?
Let's see. Turner.
I got ones with raised stacks with Wendell in it. Like that's.
I have 100% Baez and Turner actually.
Okay.
Looking at my lineups right now.
Okay, so that's what I was curious about. And Blender, you said you do have a couple ones in a raise stack.
Right. I just hand built 5 GPP lineups on DraftKings because doing these types of shows,
you can't.
How do I play 100 line? I can't. Yeah. Especially look at the Cubs lineup. Once the Cubs lineup come out, I would have to say, "Hey Roth, I gotta go. Have fun with Charlie Struthers. Let's see if you could make up some names and see what you're talking about." But no, I obviously do have to move around some of my lineups because Bryant isn't in the Cubs lineup or whatever. But that game isn't until like 2:30 anyway. But yeah, I have a lineup with Crawford in it, and I have a lineup with Wendell in it. But that's a San Francisco Giants stack and a Rays stack. So
makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So well, the reason.
Guys, let's get to the outfield here, and then I want to talk stacks, and then I want to talk. I want to get to some of these questions as well. But Grant, why don't you lead us off with, what's the chalk in the outfield and then what you're looking at to pivot?
I mean, the chalk is going to be Chicago and Tampa Bay. So Meadows, Soto, Peterson, Rosaria, Happ, Bryant's no longer in there, so that'll change. Schwarber, those are the main guys. Like those are who everyone's going to play.
Those are great plays, right?
Yeah, they grade out as the top raw points. They grade out as the top point per dollar plays. Like they're far and away the best plays.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I don't know what to do. Like I'm playing a decent amount of San Francisco. So Yastrzemski is a guy that I'm going to end up using. You can stack against Dunning. Dunning's not going to be the most owned guy, but he's definitely a guy that you can end up using. You can stack up Texas and throw Gallo in there. You can stack up Cincinnati. Castellanos is a fantastic play today. He's not going to come in very high owned. Mm-hmm. So using him is not the worst idea in the world. Stacking up the Reds is not the worst idea in the world because it's still a solid overall play. Like, just don't throw Suarez in there, and you've got a little bit of a different lineup just because ownership is going to congregate on the best overall plays. Like, no one's really playing, like, in outfield specifically. Play Nyquin, play Castellanos, and stack up the Reds, even if it's just a mini stack. Without Suarez, you're getting the two best hitters in the lineup because everyone's going to congregate over on those out, because outfielders just stacked for the Chicago game and the Washington game. You have three of the top six guys, or actually all of the top six guys are in those three teams. What were you saying, Blender?
No, all of them. I mean, like, literally every, like, the top six raw projected. Okay, Castellanos is stuck there because he has a good raw projection, but he's 5,900. But on both sites, there's no, like, price differential. Like, the same six guys are on both sites for the outfield. And if you play anything else other than that, like, the ownership drops dramatically.
So I guess my question then is, do you want to play things other than that? How much other than that? Do you want one of the top six guys and then two others? Or does this entirely depend on what else you're doing at other positions, which is what you're going to say?
I mean, yeah, it depends. Like, it's 4-game slate. It's almost impossible to stay away from the chalk. But now my favorite thing to do is I'm going to stack up the entire Cincinnati outfield. And I'm automatically entirely different than everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Blender, any thoughts there in the outfield?
Well, some ways that you could get different while still being chalky is, like, if you're playing a Rays stack, instead of playing Meadows, play Kiermaier. Play the cheaper guy batting seventh. You could say the same thing with let's take a look at the Nationals. Like, instead of playing Schwarber, you're playing Jordy Mercer at second base. Andrew Stevenson is batting ninth after Joe Ross. Like, everyone's going to play the Nationals and not play the ninth hitter. Like, you could do you don't have to, like, X out Wrigley. Like, everyone's playing the Wrigley game. Let me X them out. You can still make a 5-man stack with the chalkies. You could play Soto and Turner and Bell and Schwarber and Stevenson, right? Gotcha. And have a 2% owned guy. The same thing with, like, the Rays. Like, oh, you don't have to do the top of the order. You could have Brett Phillips at the bottom of the order. Now, don't necessarily play the 6, 7, 8, 9 type of stack, but you could play the 4 best hitters on the team and then just throw in. A lot of times that low in the order guy is only like 3 or 4% owned, and if he's the guy that hits one of the home runs, because you're going to need multiple, obviously, like, you differentiate yourself from, like, 20% of the field as it is, who's already. They're sitting there going, I played this team, I played the 5-man stack, but I didn't have that guy. You ever had that feeling? I didn't have that guy.
Everybody does.
The one that had that guy.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. I do want to talk stacks really quick, although, Blender, what I'm getting from you is you can play the chalk stacks, just pivot off one of those super popular chalky guys. But do you have a team that you're interested in stacking other than, Wrigley?
Rays. The Rays are going to be the third most owned team on the slate. So I'm more likely to go, like, if you take up your outfield spots. So, like, if you play a Rosarina and Meadows, it only leaves you with one outfield spot left. And most likely you're playing one of the guys from the Wrigley game, but it may make you a little bit more different because you're just hoping that the Wrigley game just doesn't, like, explode.
Yeah. And
with all the outfielders that are there, and you just need one that hits a home run or something. But San Francisco against Molly. San Francisco getting a ballpark upgrade heading into Cincinnati. Molly's going to probably be the most owned pitcher on this slate. I mean, you could say the same for Texas against Herman, but like the Rangers suck. So, like, the Giants are a better hitting team than the Rangers, and the Giants are getting a ballpark upgrade. Molly, I think is naturally a worse pitcher than Herman when he's bad. Like, we've seen Molly give up 9 runs in 3 innings before. And there's enough lefty bats in the Giants lineup. Yastrzemski, Crawford, Dickerson, Duggar, Kurt Casale, revenge game, right? The catcher. He used to be on the Reds. Now he's on the Giants. So
I thought you were testing me with a fake name there, but
no,
that sounds real.
I've put it in your mind.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be giving out fake names. And so far I have not given out any of them.
All right. Real quick, Grant, you mentioned that you liked the Cincinnati outfielders as a little mini stack. Anything else that you're looking at that might be a little bit different from what most are doing?
I mean, so now, like with everyone being on the Velia, I've adjusted my lineups where I have 60% red stacks.
Nice.
Look at Vegas implied team totals. Rays 5, Nationals 5, Cubs 5.5. Reds are right behind them at 4.91. Like the Reds are the best play on the board. They all kind of project out well. They're not going to be heavily played because people aren't playing Dunning as much as they should be. So the Reds are by far the best stack. And playing Stevenson instead of Velia, he's hitting third in that lineup. Like whether or not he's a good hitter or not, which he's still a pretty decent hitter. Matchup isn't bad. Cueto is just an all right pitcher, a lot better versus righties, but this is a perfect spot. Don't play Suarez in your lineup, and you're entirely different. India is a guy that's not been great this year, but he's definitely a good raw prospect. He's playing second base. You don't want to play anyone there. Like, play the outfield, and you're already entirely different than everyone else. Play Stevenson, play India or Blandino if you want someone cheap because third base is just a wasteland. And then you have an entirely different stack. The Reds and the Giants are by far my two favorite stacks on the day. It's not remotely close.
Okay. Excellent. We've got about 2 minutes left. Let's take a few of these questions. We'll alternate blender lightning round, starting with you. Tyler Molly over under 6.5 Ks, yay or nay?
According to the bat, Molly's projection for Ks is 6.68. So I'll say above.
Take the over.
They're asking for props. It's actually don't even bother betting that because there's heavy juice on the over.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Tom says DK Cash is a 3v3 for you, Grant. Turner, Schwarber, Peterson, or Baez, Lau, and Meadows?
First one.
DK Cash, blender, Meadows, or Jock Jam?
Projection. Well, I mean, I always look at the projections.
Jock Jams.
Right. So it's going to be Peterson.
All right. Tom says 4 Tampa Bay and 4 Washington and DK Cash. You okay with that, Grant?
You might want to get one of the Chicago guys in there, but that's entirely fine.
Alex says the best play of the day is leaving thousands on the table, and you guys tend to agree with that. What's your best pivot of the day? Baltimore stack instead of Cubs. I don't really understand if that was. Are you interested in using a Baltimore stack?
Yeah, it's not bad.
I considered it. The problem that on a 4-game slate, just to quickly, go into the reason I like the Giants more than the Orioles is because Molly is going to be owned. Rich Hill is not going to be owned. So if I want to pivot somewhere and not play Molly, well, who do I play? Well, I'm going to play Rich Hill, right? Because for the same 8,700. So, like, anytime you're going to make one of those type of leverage moves on a short slate, you have to find some other pitcher to play.
Sure.
And I'm choosing Rich Hill. Now, if you want to just play Molly and then stack against Hill, it's just that Hill's going to be like 25% owned while Molly's going to be 50% owned. So to me, there's more value in playing the Giants than playing the Orioles against Hill.
Okay, great. And with that, I do believe we are coming up on lock. Someone asked if the wins are going to stay consistent in Wrigley, and yeah, they're out to left pretty much all game. So, yeah, consistent. Hill and German for the win, says John. Grant?
Yep, definitely a possibility.
Yeah, all right. All right. 15 seconds. Let's see. OMG says, Blender, did you say you like a pile stack? Do you...
A pile? What does that mean?
P-Y-L-E? P-Y, is that a person?
No.
No, we got fake names coming in now.
We got fake names coming into the chat now.
Or like dirty sex jokes. I don't know where he was going with that, honestly. John says I'm only leaving 400 on the table. That's okay. That's okay.
So
I'm not leaving that much money on the table. Why are we talking about leaving 4,000 on the table?
400.
None of my lineups leave that much on the table.
400. 420.
No, but I mean,
400.
Grant's talking about leaving 4,000 on the table. People in the chat are 8,000 on the table. Feel free to send me your extra salary. I can use it somewhere.
I mean, I ended up pivoting over
for the late slate. The salary we'll just put in. We'll spend 54,000 later tonight.
I ended up putting in a lot, like just swapping out my outfield for Castellanos, Winker, and Nyquin in most of my lineups, just because I had the salary left over and I looked at their ownership and like, let's see, we'll have ownership here in a minute, and that game's one of the early games. What do you think the whatever came in at? The whatever.
How concise.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Very
Reds are
precise.
probably low owned. The Reds are probably single digit owned, other than Suarez.
About 15%, which
Well,
on a
that's actually
4-game
higher than I
slate is
thought.
solid.
Right. That's amazing on a 4-game
How
slate.
about the Rays? What do the Rays look like?
Let me see. I don't know how much rate. Go to my teams.
We're going to DK. You could go to in the app. You could go to
Meadows is
players
41%. Lau is 40%.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's expected. Roth, how do you like dealing with us? We're a little bit more frenetic than you're used to.
Frenetic
the
is a good
Giants
way to
came in
describe
at
it.
6% ownership. Yaz, Longoria, and Ruff are all around 6% ownership. Happy about that. I did not end up playing too many Rays bats. Troy is 32% owned. Mejia is 20% owned. Rosaria is 26% owned. Yeah, I'm glad I mostly pivoted off the Rays bats.
Okay. I think it sounds like great advice. You know, you gave people good plays at low ownership, and that's what we're trying to do here. Blender, at one point in the show, you were mentioning something and you really got on a roll. You were talking about you play this guy and this guy, buffet this guy, and you just got more animated as it went. And I felt like I was under attack by the end of your statement.
Suarez is 12% owned.
There you go. 12% owned.
Gosh, I fucked
We
up
get
on
excited.
That.
I liked it. Hey, I like the energy.
Not your normal six that you get Andy's just strolling in with the I guess DeRozan's fine and Cardi's like, you know, sample size this and Cheese is like, you know, I here's my column and there you go. And yes, I like this team. And here me and Grant are just bouncing back and forth. It's like, no, here's the crazy thing I'm doing. And I'm going, you're doing that. I'm doing this crazy thing. And it's just like, you have to sort out like which of the crazy things, only one of them will work out of the 10 crazy things, but one of them may.
Right. But that's the idea. That's the whole point, is to try to get the lower owned plays. So gentlemen, excellent work. A bunch of people in chat saying, hey, great work. By the way, if you thought, wow, those two guys were really sharp, I don't know about that weatherman, he seems dumb. That's okay. Still like and subscribe. And don't forget, you should sign up for premium, because this show usually is not free. It was free today, but this is usually crunch time is behind the paywall. So if you want more content like this every single day, sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. You get your first month of combo or single sport RotoGrinders Premium, $10 off. And if you do single sport, it's already pretty cheap. And then $10 off that is like, that's like a massive discount, like 33% off or something. So go ahead, sign up, hit the like and subscribe button. And with that, we're going to get out of here. You guys ready to say goodbye?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. For Grant, for Blender, for Devin, always working hard behind the scenes. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll catch you later today. You have been crunched.
Peek it.